So as it gets close to race day for me, I want to share 7 must-know tips for any race day. But I would say that the overarching theme could be summed up in 2 words: test and prepare. For example, in running, mental strength and confidence in your ability to perform is key, and this comes from preparation. The more runs you accomplish, the better you become, the easier it is to push through the discomfort to accomplish new goals and further distances. Well, likewise, testing and preparing for all elements of race day helps to build confidence and reduce nerves since you've left nothing to chance. So here are my 7 must-know tips for race day. So number 1, test out your meals. I won't spend much time on this one since I've covered this topic before. However, I must emphasize that it is extremely important to practice and test out everything you plan to eat on race day. This includes your race day breakfast, gels to be taken during the race, and your pre-race carb-loading dinner the night before. Number 2, avoid high-fiber foods. You will have nerves on race day, and trust me when I say high fiber and nerves do not go together. You don't want anything that will trigger loose bowels or churning once you get nervous and closer to the starting line. So just avoid anything with high fiber the morning and night before race day. And this includes salads. Now, I will say that I enjoy oatmeal as my pre-race breakfast, which does have approximately 4 grams of fiber in it. And it's one of those foods that's kind of on the fence. Some runners can stomach it while others have a slight reaction to it. For some reason, it works well for me. However, I can't do like wheat or multigrain toast, for example. So this is where the testing comes in. Just be sure to try out your breakfast before, preferably on a long run, and see how you do. So number 3, carb loading does not begin the night before. The pre-race pasta dinner the night before should not be the first heavy carb meal you have. I recently learned that I should actually start carb loading gradually the week before, and specifically the 48 hours or 2 days before race day. So no really big meal the night before that makes you feel all full and sluggish. I did this once and my race the next day was not fun. In fact, it was miserable. So instead, I try to increase my carbs at each meal as I get closer to my race. So for me, this usually means I add some oatmeal at breakfast and some extra carbs at dinner, preferably in the form of pasta or maybe sweet potatoes or white potatoes. And sometimes my white potatoes even take the form of potato chips, which maybe aren't the healthiest, but it works for me. Ultimately, I just start carb loading gradually a couple days before my race, so hopefully that tip works for you. Number 4, look up the liquid hydration that will be available during your race. So basically, you want to plan for the race that you're running. If you are relying on the water stations or hydration provided by the race, make sure to review the site map and find out where the water stations will be. Usually on the race website, they will include a map that shows the mile markers where the fluids are located. And you will also want to know what type of additional drink will be provided, like whether it'll be Gatorade or Powerade, because each drink has different carb and sodium amounts. So if you are planning to use it as fuel for your run, just don't take it for granted that it's going to be Gatorade. So I did this once in a shorter race, and the sponsor had provided a drink that focused more on electrolytes, and it only had 1 gram of sugar. And I was planning on using that as my carb intake during the race. And I had never used this new brand before, but I went ahead and decided to try it during the race, and it ended up giving me a stomach cramp. So that's just an example of what could go wrong if you don't plan ahead. Normally you'll see the sports drinks first and then the water, or vice versa. And you can time your gel packets with when the water stations are going to be available. I wouldn't recommend taking them and the sports drinks together because it could be too many carbs at one time, which would not be able to absorb properly, at least not all of them. And that could cause a sort of sloshing feeling or discomfort. Number 5, test out what you plan to wear. And do this preferably on your longer distance runs like 9 or 10 miles. And this is necessary because the longer mileage provides more opportunity for chafing and blisters. So you want to consider your shoes, socks, shorts, tights, and sports bra. Because a 3-mile run and something like these may be completely different than a 10-mile run in these. Some women may have an issue with chafing, especially in short shorts. I know I had that problem, and at one point I was a little heavier than I am now, and I would have to wear tights because my thighs would rub together when I ran long distances. So I would wear tights like these, and they were super thin. So just because you have to wear tights doesn't mean that they have to be hot. You can find tights that are super thin, and they weren't too long. But this was my preference, so it's just something to consider and to test out when you run long distances. Also, and this was a surprise to me, but rubbing from undergarments can give you whelps. But they do have shorts where you don't have to wear underwear. They actually have a light netted material built in. So these are just things to be mindful of for anything over 10 miles. And then you also have this, which is Body Glide for her. And it just goes on really light. And I personally have never tried it, but I plan to. But as you see, it's just something light that you put on any areas where you may have rubbing. So it prevents the friction so that you won't get whelps and chafing. Also consider any gear you wear on race day, like a belt or a vest. Personally, I don't like belts because of the up and down movement that happens when you run. But I didn't find that out until I actually ran a long run with one on, and I literally wanted to take it off and throw it in the river. I even thought about it because it ruined my entire run. But I wouldn't have known this if I wouldn't have practiced with it. So now I am able to use a small one, maybe to hold a gel or an ID, like if it's the thin, stretchy kind, but not a water belt. So this is just to say, make sure whatever you decide to wear is tolerable over long distances. Number 6, check the site map and review the course terrain. It helps to know in advance whether or not a race is going to be challenging. In other words, hilly. For one, you can practice the hills during the trainings you have so you won't be caught off guard. But 2, also knowing at what mile the hill is going to be located also helps. I like to know personally so that I can preserve a little energy if I know that I'm going to have a tough climb at the end. And then also I can practice it if I choose to. And lastly, number 7, get some rest. Due to the long runs and extra workouts, your body may need more downtime. I would say make sure to get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep minimum each night, and even some extra hours from time to time. So the Runner's World Half Marathon class actually recommended 7 to 10 hours. Now for myself, on heavy mileage weeks, I would shoot for about 9 hours. And I know that this is not feasible for everyone, and not even for myself all the time, but I just do my best with this because if I start to feel worn down, then it will actually also affect my runs mentally. And as I mentioned, running is part mental preparation. These runs build the mental strength to push through the discomfort of additional miles and challenges on race day. So you want to make sure to do your best to get the proper rest. So I just make sure to get enough rest because I know this is the time when my body heals from the last workout, and I want to make sure I'm ready for the next run. So that concludes my 7 tips to prepare for race day. I hope this was helpful, and if you like, please subscribe because I'm new to YouTube, and I hope to see you next time on the road.